How do you go about attracting high-level talent?
I think the best way to attract people is by your track record.
Mm.
So, I mean, I've been in business now for, I've been an entrepreneur, been building companies for 20 years. Number one is just to build a track record where you actually do what you say you're going to do. Look, the kind of people we want to attract are people that are tenacious, that are driven, that are motivated, that are ambitious, that are consistent, that are loyal, that are honest, right? I mean, we have these attributes. And I love smart people. I mean, smart people are awesome, but the first thing we go for is really not IQ. Right. I mean, so the type of people that we attract are people that are going to give it their all and be in it with us. And so for me, it's just, listen, brand building is easier today than it's ever been in the world. Right. I mean, people, I mean, people can build a brand. It's very accessible to build a brand, but building a brand could be like a souffle. It could be a lot of bravado. And you tap it the wrong way and your brand just falls over. So, I tell people all the time, I mean, you want to build a brand deep more than you want to build it wide. That's the same with the company. So for me, I'm sitting here with you today because and I talk about our businesses and what we do for one reason and one reason only. I want to attract the best, most extraordinary talent in the world. And I want to give them opportunities that are huge. So, I mean, every day of my life, I'm interviewing people. I mean, I probably do on average 3 to 4 interviews a day.
Wow.
And I interview people. I had a multi-billionaire, extraordinary business partner when I was a very young man. And I noticed that all that he did, he spent most of his time just talking to people. It was about people, people, and people. And it was just focused on that. So I've taken that and, it's a great question you ask. I mean, I want extraordinary talent or people that want to be extraordinary talent. I have no shortage of opportunities for them. I mean, between the companies we have today, and the only thing that keeps me from acquiring the next company is having an extraordinary team of people that can be a part of that company that can make it successful. And sometimes you find those people in the company and they're kind of undiscovered talent. And sometimes you have to create that talent. And sometimes you have to recruit the talent. So that's just big for me.
I love it. We're kind of in a similar boat where it's all people. Like we're just trying to attract and recruit as much top talent as possible. What we've had to do is like process wise, we've created almost like a assembly line. It's just like try to filter and recruit through talent. So we're doing these big group interviews right now through Zoom. We'll have like 20 people on cycling through that. But even to get on the group interview, we've created like almost like a questionnaire to hopefully filter out as many people as possible in the interview process. Because, I was spending like 95% of my day just on interviews and like trying to go through resumes and all that stuff. And so for you, when you're going through like this recruiting process, like what are the kind of the keys that you're looking for before you even get on a call with somebody?
I would say it just depends on the position and the role.
Sure.
But 100% of the time, I try to identify professionalism. We live in this kind of, chill, relaxed, everyone wants to, use acronyms and shorthand and be fun. But I try to look for people that are professional, that are good communicators. I mean, I think communication is really the key. So that could be from a resume. The cool thing is people put themselves out there today a lot. So you're able to really look at what's going on. But for us, we put people through assessment processes, right? And do assessments and try to figure, and there's always a new one, right? There's always new assessments, but we want to understand really, Javi, it's not about really what the person is only. It's not just about them. It's really about, are we going to be the right fit for them?
Yes.
And so is what I try to determine early on is there's some extraordinary people that we are just not the right fit for. I mean, we're not the right home. And, we have people that are like, we're dying to come work in one of your companies. We want to be a part of the team. We want to get involved, and we get to know them. And I'm like, man, you're going to hate it. And they're like, no, this is an amazing opportunity. I've got to do this. This is great. And I'm like, no, it's just not the right fit for you. So the first thing we try to do is try to figure out, are we the right fit for them? Right? Because if we know who we are, right? I mean, we are really like clear on who we are. So if we can figure out if they're the right ones to fit, in our environment, and then it comes together. So that's number one. And then number two is, I mean, all the way from, like I said, assessments to what's their background. I mean, I think that there's a lot to be said, and the greatest indicator of what someone's future is going to look like has to do with their success. Look, I am like all about people that have stumbled, fallen, had challenges, even had job changes. But, there are some red flags that can pop up that we're like, man, this just isn't going to work for us. So it also depends on the company. Some companies, we have a little bit more grace when it comes to the time we can take to help someone grow and develop. And in some companies, man, we're in the middle of the game. I mean, it's like a Formula One race, right? I mean, we're going to do some pit stops. They're going to be fast, but we're going. And the kind of talent we need in there may be different than somewhere where we have an emerging business that we're building that's got a little slower cadence to it.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. So with your team right now, you mentioned also, which I think is super interesting for us because we've done a few acquisitions and stuff like that. We do kind of have a core team that we will help go into a business and, get it up and running. But you mentioned that each business is individual.
Yeah.
And so are you the only one that bounces between company to company? Or?
I've got a few people.
Okay.
I've got a few people. Well, let me tell you what the genesis of it is.
Yeah.
And so I have been a student of Warren Buffett's, like reading business and studying his business since I was a young man. And I don't know exactly how many companies Berkshire Hathaway has today, but it's well over 300, hundreds and hundreds of billions of dollars under management. And I've always thought it was very fascinating that Mr. Buffett's team, his core team at Berkshire Hathaway Inc., is a very small team. It's 23, 24 people.
Yeah.
Right. So think about how big that enterprise is. Now, the enterprises that we're building are slightly smaller than that. So we don't need, we don't even need the 23 or 24 people. But I feel like if I'm trying to build an all-star team around Experience Ventures, which is, a fun business where we invest in amazing companies, or in KLV Capital where we go out and acquire amazing companies. If I'm, I own both of those businesses, and whether I am an investor in a business or I wholly own a business, and I have both, for me, I want the talent in the business. And so, I think some people focus on, I'm going to build a team of unicorns. I'm going to get the best, most extraordinary all-star players in the world, and I'm going to parachute them into a business, and we're going to put everything in place. And what happens when you leave? Or what happens when you build amazing enterprise value, right? We want to build $100, $200, $300, $400 million in every one of these companies, right? We want to build massive enterprise value. When you're building massive enterprise value, it doesn't include taking the good people with you when you leave. So if someone's going to acquire a company, they want that team.
Exactly.
So our focus has been on how can we staff and equip each company with an extraordinary team. And by the way, most people that we hire that are really good, they want to build wealth. They want to make money. And the best way to make money is to stay focused. If they can stay focused on a business and they can build enterprise value in that business, and then that business transacts, they're going to get paid. And they have an opportunity through stock options, through whatever it may be, to just totally crush it. So trust me, I all the time meet extraordinary people and I'm like, oh, I need to put you in this company, in this company, in this company. And I want to put you all over the place. And I'm like, but then I think back to, guys like Mr. Buffett who've built that enterprise. And I'm like, well, those people are in the companies.
Yes.
Those people aren't in the holding company. So it's kind of my mindset, but my natural tendency is no different than anyone else's that's in this type of a business, is that I want to stack my team. And we go to buy a company and I want to be like, all right, these guys are going to fix all the problems. But you know what? When you do that, the first thing you end up doing is running off the people in the company. And there's a lot of diamonds in the rough I found in these businesses, that just people that don't have the right leadership, that don't have the right vision, and they could be exceptional. So I mean, it's a challenge always.
Yeah, and you mentioned a very good point that we've also encountered, because when we do have, because again, our parent company team is quite small, but when we have tried in the past, similar to you, where we'll have a talented person and they start working on maybe 4 different businesses, and then we see their productivity just go to like a C+ in all these different areas, when they were an A player. They were great. And now they're just focused on so many different things, and each business is nuanced. So there'll be different problems and challenges. So yeah, you're right. Having your core team focus on just one thing, or their core KPIs in their one business is always going to be better. So I would agree 100%.
The problem is we're entrepreneurs, right? I mean, I'm an entrepreneur, so the thing I don't want is guardrails, right? I mean, I want to be able to go all over the place. I want to be able to do everything. And I fall into the trap sometimes of thinking that everyone else wants that too.
100%.
And so I'm like, well, everyone wants to be everywhere, right? I mean, I remember when I was a young guy, I went and played soccer, and they had they were telling me about the positions. And they said, well, hey, we can put you in the position called sweeper. That was the position. You can go all over the field. And I was like, that's the position I want. And I remember the soccer coach said, hey, Vic, you're not fast enough. And I'm like, oh, man, I got to get fast. So in business, I try to stay fast so I can do everything. But I've got 10 out of 10 stories of where I've taken people and made them too wide. And I've let them go all over the place. And it's not helpful for them.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, they think as well. They're like, I want to go everywhere. But if they could do 1, 2, 3 things really, really well, and they could add value in those areas. By the way, the scorecard's important, right?
Mhm.
So in business, I mean, we're building businesses. We're not about revenue. I mean, revenue's super important, but we're about profitability.
Of course.
Right. So,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, if somebody went in and they put a new system or process in place, I want to understand exactly how that aligns with revenue and exactly how that flows through down to profitability, real
Mhm.
profitability, money you can spend, right? Not just, we're creating a big, massive company with no profit. So I think individuals deserve to be aligned with the actual measurable success of a business. And when people start going all over the place and doing everything, they don't have a scorecard. And by the way, if you don't have a scorecard, you kind of feel like you're losing. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it valuable, please watch this next one. I think you're going to love it.